what is the deal with Cinderella? Can anybody explain this to me? Because me personally, I'm a Kiss fan, a Motley Crue fan, a Vinnie Vincent Invasion fan. There's like certain LA Guns. There's bands that I'm like really hardcore into, and I know all the intricacies of all the relationships, the current and past members, management, tour managers, everybody, you know, because I just get into it like that. I don't get into Cinderella like that. I've never been into Cinderella like that, but Cinderella has always been in my top 20 bands. Now, you may think that that's not a huge distinction, and I beg to differ, because when I say my top 20 bands, these are the 20 bands that I listen to the most, whether I'm working out, on a flight, you know, at work with my AirPods in. These are bands that I have their CDs. These are bands that I may or may not have some signed merch. I definitely have shirts. I'm invested. These 20 bands, more or less, are bands that I'm invested in. I can have multiple CDs, T-shirts. Like I said, I might have some signed memorabilia. I got a lot of that stuff. And I've probably seen them in concert at least, let me just use this example, at least 3 times. So these are bands that I'm into, like hardcore into. Like I will like legit curse you out in a supermarket parking lot or produce section in defense of any of these bands if you say something that's cool, not cool. So I'm just saying, I know it sounds like I'm being melodramatic, I'm trying to be funny, maybe a little bit, but like 99.9%, like I will legit curse you out if you say that Jeff LaBar was a bad guitar player, or that, you know, Tom Keifer isn't a like amazing singer and can play the 12-string acoustic guitar like nobody else. I will like legit curse you out by the tomato section. Okay. But the thing is though, is I'm not into the intricacies of like, you know, like what paper towel they have on their Winnebago, like I am with like LA Guns and Motley and Kiss. And, you know, I say VVI, but VVI hasn't toured in like 20 years, but I'm that into VVI as well. So I don't understand why I see Keifer Band everywhere. You know, Eric is a freaking amazing bass player that brings undeniable stage presence. The fans freaking love him. You know what I mean? And why is he not there? Jeff LaBar died. God rest his soul. You go to the Cinderella website and there's a tribute to Jeff, and it's like a picture, and I think it might say a couple of words, and that's it. You can't buy T-shirts, you can't buy concert tickets because they're no longer a band. They just decided they're not going to be a band anymore. So you've got Keifer Band instead. You know, it sounds a lot like the Stephen Pearcy version. Well, with Stephen Pearcy with a bunch of club acts, club musicians, and that's Rat, I guess. They don't say it's Rat, but he's Stephen Pearcy, the voice of Rat. You know what I mean? And it's lame, honestly. It's lame that Jeff LaBar, it's really messed up that Jeff LaBar died. And we're very sad about that because he's an amazing guitar player. But he died while you guys were on hiatus, kind of like Warrant. You know, Janie Lane died. And again, you never know when someone's going to die. I'm not trying to put that on the poor bands, you know. But it just so happens that while you guys couldn't get along, you couldn't come together. And these Cinderella did some amazing festivals in the 2010s. And then they just quit in 2016, I think it was. I don't know the specific year. But they just decided they're not going to play anymore. And they were like headlining, and if they weren't headlining, they were second on the bill, usually under like a Poison or Bon Jovi or something like that. I mean, they were doing really well. Mind you, some of those bills had like 20 acts. So if you're number one, or even if you're number 2, 3, or 4, or even 5, when you know, because even 5, your name's big. It's when you're down to like 10, 15, 20 that your name's like, you know, microscopic. But when you're one of the top 2 or 3 acts up there, you're making some serious money. You're getting a great time to play. You're going to be able to do all your special effects. You can do 1 or 2 encores. You're great. You're great. You're freaking great. And they left that so that he could play a bunch of like, you know, large theaters and small clubs, large theaters, large clubs, maybe like a small stadium here or there. But when he was with the band, and I'm kind of targeting Tom, because I mean, Tom's clearly the guy that owns everything, I think. I don't know how that works. You know, well, maybe they all own a piece of Cinderella. I don't know. Or maybe it's like a Dawkins situation where Don bought everybody out. He even did the interview. So like, here's $250 for you, Jeff. Here's $250 for you, George. And here's $250 for you, Mick. And just bought them all out. And now he owns 100% of Dawkins. And maybe that's the case with Cinderella. Maybe Tom owns 100% of it. Or maybe I'm being too hard on Tom, and each of the guys owned a 0.25%. And, you know, Fred, Eric, and Jeff, and Tom, they just couldn't get in a room together, and they couldn't agree, and they just decided to go their separate ways. I don't think so. I think Tom is probably the one that said, we're not doing this anymore. I'm bored. I want to go to, you know, do my solo band or whatever. And I don't know. I don't know. I'm not going to make a video saying what happened with Cinderella when I clearly don't know what happened with Cinderella. But like I said, their merch sold like hotcakes. They had great positioning on these tour packages, and then they would tour on their own, and they would have great numbers. Their website had tons of traffic. They were streaming like crazy. Like, why, you're not going to tell me that Keifer Band does better than Cinderella would, right? I mean, you're not going to tell me that. If that's the reason why, I mean, leave it but in a comment. But, I mean, I would no sooner believe that pigs fly than that's being the case. Like, Cinderella is, come on, you know what I mean? Like, that's like that Cinderella, Poison, Bon Jovi, Motley Crue, Guns N' Roses. I mean, these are like the biggest names of 80s music. And some of them would be highly offended at being called hair metal. LA Guns and Guns N' Roses were not hair metal. Faster Pussycat, they were glammed out, but I don't know, man. But maybe, I guess they were glam, and I guess, but, well, Cinderella was definitely glam. But I mean, like, these are the biggest bands of the 80s, though. These are the biggest bands. And so you're going to tell me that Keifer Band is going to, turn more heads than I was going to say Cinder effing Rella, but you're going to tell me that Keifer Band is going to be more of a head turner than Cinderella? That you and, I don't know who plays for you. I shouldn't say some club singers or whatever, but club guitarists. But listen, at the end of the day, everybody's a session player and everybody's a hired gun and everybody is a Howard Johnson band player when you're comparing them to Eric and Fred. Because that's Cinderella, plus obviously you, Tom. Like, duh, right? But I mean, like, and that's what happens with any band when they try to replace. I mean, there have been so few examples, AC/DC and Van Halen, where the original singer was replaced and it was still good. And then you had the Van Halen situation where they got stupid and they tried to do it a third time, and I'm sorry, Gary Sharon, that record sucked. And it wasn't your fault. You went in there, you belted out your vocals, and you did the best you could. Jesus Christ could have come back to earth, and he could have been the third singer of Van Halen, and that record still would have flopped. Why? Because they had a godsend. When they went from David Lee Roth to Sammy Hagar, they were given like a second chance at life. They never left being up on top. And they had no problems with Sammy. Sammy was happy. Sammy was writing good music. He was singing. He was good to go. They got rid of him for whatever reason. Maybe he inadvertently knocked some brown M&Ms into the jar. You're gone. 10 years, bunch of number one albums, tons of top 20 hits. You're done. We're going to bring in Gary Sharon, okay, from Extreme, with all of 2 hits to his name. I mean, good band, but come on. I mean, that's like being picked up from the minor, not even the minor leagues, from like AAA ball. I think that is the minor leagues, from a single A team. That's like being picked up from a high school team and being put in the major leagues, more or less. I mean, well, a community college. I mean, they had a good couple of hits there, but come on. But it's just like Motley Crue. They found the guy that in a magazine from a obscure record that Nicky bought and loved, and they put him in there, and look what happened there. And that was one of the greatest Motley Crue albums, if not the greatest of all times, and it barely went gold. So, I mean, I don't know, guys. To me, it's just one of those things. You try to replace a singer, a guitarist, a drummer, even a bass player, it may not go well. It may not go well. So, to me, I don't care who Tom's got playing with him. Nobody's going to replace that original Cinderella band, that original Cinderella sound. It breaks my heart because Jeff's gone, but you still have Fred and you still have Eric. Why don't you do something? Why don't you guys reunite? Like, I feel like this is like the same conversation that a lot of fans were struggling with in the 90s when all these amazing bands broke up because the times changed. When if they had just stayed together and done the Rocklahoma type situation, stronger together, grab like 3-4 bands at headline. So you don't headline this time. You'll be third on the bill or second on the bill, but you're going to be playing to 20,000 people, If they would have done stuff like that, in 1992, 1993, when it really hurt, 94 when it really hurt, 95 when they were all dead, sales-wise, they would have done package tours like that, cruise tours. not cut their hair, not tried to sound grunge, and just stuck to their guns, put out like a Pretty Boy Floyd, you know, what is it? Set the Night Away or Feel the Night Away. I don't know. I don't remember the name of the song, but it was a great song, you know, and done something like that. Could you imagine coming out with just a totally glammed out record like that first Vinnie Vincent Invasion record in 1993 and just been like, you know, like giving one of these fingers to grunge and alternative and Eddie Vedder and alternative press and MTV and everybody and said, you know what, we're going to double the lipstick. We're going to double the Aquanet. We're going to get in more leather. We're going to have more chains. Our stages are going to like blow up. We're going to put all the scantily clad women up front. We're going to have Hell's Angels as security. We're just going to just do it up. We're going to do tattoo parlor videos. We're going to like go to strip clubs. One of our members is going to drop dead, but then they're going to bring him back. We're just going to be really bad. We're going to tear up a set. One of our guys is going to quit. Then he's going to come back. You know what I mean? It's going to be pandemonium at the awards. We're going to punch out a couple band people. We're going to tear the stage up. You know, we're going to do like that guy from Rage Against the Machine and climb up on the tree and disrupt at least 4 or 5 different presentations and not come down. Was that not rock and roll? That's what we're going to do. We're going to live it. They had to kick grunge in the ass. And even if they hadn't, they, you know, these bands would have continued on. But they just, you know, but it's like we're having the same conversation again. At least I am on this video directed at Tom Keifer of Keifer Band. Like, why am I doing a video in 2023 trying to convince you to get on the phone and call Eric and call Fred and put together 3/4 reunion of Cinderella? Because even while you were split up doing your stupid like solo projects, your guitar player passed away. I'm not putting that on your shoulders. I'm just saying just it happens to be that that's the case. Are you going to wait for Eric to drop dead, or is Tom going to drop dead, or Fred, or what? You know what I mean? Like, I don't understand. Like, these bands that made so much money and so many fans, and the fans, we would gladly give you our money. We want to see you play, you know? I'm not going to go watch Keifer Band, you know, anymore than I'm going to go watch Vince Neil with Dana Strum and whoever else they can find to play with Vince. You know, that's not Motley Crue. And it's not Motley Crue without Mick Mars either. You know what I mean? I just don't get it. I don't get it. I don't get it. Can somebody explain to me why Cinderella is not playing as a rock band?